Hello ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls around the world and across the internet. This is Robert Star Phoenix, and right away you're probably going to notice something different. I'm actually talking on one of my videos besides the general ones that I did a while ago. I finally figured out a good way to do a voiceover. It took me a lot of time. I had to consult with one of my friends who's quite experienced in stream casting on Twitch, and he also did a lot of work for the FX Open and StarCraft and everything. I won't drop his name just because I didn't get his permission for it, but anyway, he's been a very good friend of mine, practically my little brother, so thank you very much for helping me out. I tried a couple of different things, and well, I finally figured out the one way that'll work, and it's kind of a roundabout way of doing it. I'm actually going to have to use 3 different pieces of software to put this together from now on, so it might slow me down a little bit in the future, but anyway, well, let's see how this works out, okay? Well, as you can see here, this is episode 6 of Just Breed. This is my attempt to go from Gratska to get to the next town, which is called Milton. And as you can see here, I'm dealing with the same problem I dealt with at the end of the last episode, skeletons. Thankfully, this isn't too bad this time. I don't have a horde of skeletons at the gate, and I'm a little bit stronger now, so it'll be easier to deal with, and there won't be quite as many slimes poking out at the start. I'll get some toward the end of the episode here, but it won't be anything too overwhelming. It's just going to be kind of frustrating, as everyone knows. I hate skeletons in this game. I've already filmed part of episode 7. I thought the next stage was going to take a little bit longer, and it didn't, so I'm going to have to do a couple other things to just make it so it's not so horribly short, but I don't want to make them... I'm trying to keep them under an hour long for the remainder of my recording time as I do this, and you'll forgive me if I go over a little bit on these. But I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the game as it goes along, as well as just some of the random stuff I've been doing with myself and the reason why things haven't been coming as quickly as I'd like to. Freaking skeletons. Sorry, I'm going to be growling about them a lot. Usually when I'm playing by myself off microphone, I'm cursing a lot. I'm going to try not to while I'm doing these videos. You know, I like to try to keep them, you know, PG-13. I don't feel like the cursing is necessary. It might slip once or twice because, well, that's just the way I am. So if it does, I apologize in advance. But yeah, as you can see here, I'm pretty much doing almost the exact same thing I did at the start of episode 4, or the end of episode 4, where I was trying to get up to Orloff's Manor and just trying to cut through the skeletons and get up to the monster dens before they start spewing too much. The monster dens this time do have they seem to have a bit limit on how many monsters they can spew, so eventually they're going to run out. And I'm not going to go all the way up by Orloff's Manor just to kill those 2 up there, because it's really not going to do very much. Random glitch there. If there was any glitch or anything like that there, I apologize. And you have to forgive me, I've got a bit of the sniffles. I just got back from a trip to Ohio, and I went to go see the friend I was mentioning earlier. It was a nice trip. Had some interesting stuff happen. I won't get into it on this video. Now with Orloff's party, the reason why I put them down there is because he's got the 3 archers. Now for the other video, since I didn't talk about this very much, Orloff's party set up a little bit different. The traditional party is hero plus wizard plus 2 fighters plus 2 archers. His has 3 archers instead. This makes his party a little bit more versatile. It's a little bit stronger here because the boomerangs are a much more powerful item at this point in the game than the copper spears are that everyone else has wielded. I generally use the boomerangs for a very, very long time, even if they start getting a little bit weak, because the regular bows are only straight line weapons. And a later weapon called the bow gun, while it is very useful, it is again only a straight line weapon, but that's more of a crowd controller and comes in useful for the couple of areas that you use it in. The spears, I tend to use those more often than anything else. The only time I will use a sword is on the hero characters. That means the one that has no name that you can name whatever you want, so I call them R-Star. And Roland and Orloff in this case, they all can use swords. There's only one hero that you get that doesn't use a sword, and he is actually set up more like an archer. But and that makes his party very, very strange because that means his party has 4 archers. You'll see that one later. That's coming up, I think, in about maybe another 4 or 5 episodes, depending on how I play the game. And the wizards are what they are. The wizards have some interesting weapons. Their staves tend to be extended weapons after you get the first couple of them. The first couple of them are only like close range weapons. They act a lot like swords. The glass staff that all the wizards have right now is a very interesting weapon because it can hit in the 8 boxes near them, plus it can hit 1 space away in the 4 directions, up, down, left, and right, or north, south, east, and west, depending on how you want to look at it. Which makes wizards very, very useful in melee when you're not using their magic. There's very few other weapons in the game that work like that. The only other weapons that work like that are a couple of weapons toward the end of the game, which hit everything, not just one target. I mean, they literally sweep everything, which makes them really, really fun to use. I just wish there was more weapons like that. But yeah, for the most part, the fighters, the heroes will use spears, because at least they can hit one away as an extended reach weapon, so they can hit over a monster or one of their party members, or over water or bridges or whatever, as you'll see in a couple of cases later on. Here come the slimes. There seems to be a zone marker somewhere that triggers where some of these monsters come out in monster dens. Like, you can go to a certain point and they won't come out. Some of them have a timer, so if you go more than a couple of rounds, they'll just start spewing at random. So it's always very important to make sure you destroy those monster dens pretty quick, although they can be very, very painful to get to, as you saw in my last episode. Sometimes there's just more monsters coming at you and you have real estate available to get around them. Yeah, so like I said, this game, I like this game a lot. There's some parts that are just long, like this here, where you're kind of trying to move into position to the next place, and it gives the opportunity for this to happen, where the monster dens are going to start spewing monsters. Here come the skeletons. Yeah, those 2 up there, right there, I'm not going to worry about those, because those are the only 2 that are ever going to come out of that part. I don't know why that works like that. The rest of them seem to come out of that one in the middle. But the majority of the skeletons would have come out of the bottom 2 that Orloff sealed off. If I hadn't got rid of that, that would have been my biggest problem, because I think that one's an endless one. But then again, I've never let it go that far, so... Yeah, as you can see here now, I'm getting Roland and the main character, trying to get them back into position. This bridge and this forest here seems to hamper their moving ability. The terrain in this game does hamper your movement a little bit, but also another thing that hampers your movement, which you may not realize right away, is the position of the rest of your party. If the hero gets too far away from the party, he can't move very far. So like where Orloff here is, if I didn't move any of the girls, he would only be able to move 1 space ahead, because the girls would be up at the edge of the screen and they would have to catch up to him for him to move any further. So it's always a good idea to try to keep your party close together. And that spell that you saw Orloff throw just a second ago, that is Gisark. Heroes have some very unusual spells just to themselves, Gisark being one of them. It shoots out these magical stone discs. At the start of the game, like right here, they do tend to do about 30 to 40 points of damage each. Gisark eventually loses strength because monsters have more resistance to magic and their defense is higher, and eventually it starts only doing like 8 to 10 damage. It's a nice spell because if there's less than 3 monsters on the field, it will double or triple attack. If there are more than 3 monsters on the field, it just randomly selects 3 of them. But still, it's a good spell. It's one of those things you use for crowd control. If the main character and Orloff were together in the same room and they started spamming Gisark, you could wipe out the entire room pretty quick. There's also a couple other spells like that that the heroes get. I don't remember the names of them. There's one that's just like this bright blue ball of energy. It kind of bounces around like a ping pong ball. It's a little bit unreliable sometimes, but in a really good crowd, it can bounce around like a dozen times or more. And there's this other one called Around. It's a little bit more like a Pokemon, but it's a lot more effective. It's a little bit more like a Pokemon, but it's still a good spell. It's one of those things you use for crowd control. which spins everything around in a tight little square. And it's like a... I don't know how to describe it other than it just kind of like swirls everything about and it causes some damage. And then there's a tornado spell, which is a remarkable spell, and you will hate it to death toward the end of the game because it's spammed by every monster at the end of the game against your party. Now you might be thinking, well, that's a bit of a spoiler. It's not really. I'm just talking about some of the skills and stuff. And you see right here, things like this in certain stages get a little boring because everything's so spread out and you're trying to walk towards places. There's only so much you can walk to, and since it's turn-based, it takes some time. Eventually, Roland and the main character's party will catch up, and I will put Warlock into a different position. Right now I'm just using Warlock to fend off the monsters because, like I said, with the 3 archers, he's actually in a better position to do that. If I wanted to, I could spread out their boomerang attacks and have them hit 1 monster each, and then Warlock and Patty and Lucy could finish off everything. And I do know the names of some of the characters in there. I don't remember all of them. I usually remember the main characters and maybe the names of their wizards. Like, I know... Let's see. The main character's party's got Isaac, and then it's got Marsh, Elk, Lenny, and something. Roland's party I actually don't remember very well. I think that I know Karen because you walk around with her by herself for a while, and I think one of the other ones is called Gale or something like that. But I tend not to remember all the party members' names. So you can see here, I'm just trying to position everything right now. What I'm doing with the 3 archers there is I'm kind of plugging up that hole so it forces the slimes to not move very far. Archers you generally don't want to do that with because their armor is never going to be the best in the game, and they're prone to damage, and they're not very protected. In fact, after a certain point in the game, they do not get any more armor at all, which makes them very, very fragile. The wizards actually become better meat shields than the archers do, which is kind of strange. But obviously the wizards never develop any physical attack strength, so it's always a good idea to use the archers before you use your wizards. The wizards have some pretty good variety of spells in this game. Like you saw Lucy earlier, and you'll see. I think I'll use it once or twice with Isaac here, maybe if I get the opportunity to. Is the Marrow spell. The Marrow spell is really good for when you get it. It's multiple magic arrow attack. It shoots 8 arrows out in the cardinal compass directions. The only downside to it is if there's anything off by 1 space, if it's not exactly in the line of those arrows, it will miss, and I think there's a limit how far arrows will actually touch even though they fly across the edge of the screen. They tend not to hit everything all the way up. I think there's a limit like 8 spaces that it hits. But still, it's a really useful spell. It's pretty powerful, and in an emergency, you can clear out an entire group around you. Yeah, see right here, Geesark is really good because there's only 3, and boop, there we go. Slime's gone. Skeletons are less than half their hit points. Yeah, there's a bunch of spells in this game that are really, really useful. The best ones are on Roland, oddly enough, but he doesn't have them yet because he doesn't have his little magical crystal. Yeah. Orloff's got his Ring of Lapis, the main character's got his Sapphire Tiara. Orloff needs the Emerald Rod, which unfortunately is with Ellen still. Ellen's one of the priestesses you're trying to find. Eventually you will get a hold of that. In fact, it's mandatory to pass the game. I like how they make that absolutely mandatory, and it is. It's like 100% mandatory. There's no other way you can get past a certain part of the game unless Roland has in his possession the Emerald. Because he's an ice magic person. I think he's the only character that learns ice magic, which makes it a little weird because you really don't want to use his ice magic that much. But sometimes you have to. He's got a really cool blizzard spell he learns, which hits everything on the screen. And you'll learn like towards the end. I think the most powerful spell that the characters learn in this game is this spell called Leizaza. It shoots 3 lightning bolts. It's completely random. But if there's only 1 monster left that it can target, it works like Geesark, where it hits all 3 bolts on the same monster. But you usually don't need them. if it has to hit more than one at a time, the monster is probably way too tough for you to be using your magic on. What am I doing here? Oh yeah, that's right. So I'm trying to. Yeah, here's a good point where to use the Marrow spell. You see that one all the way up in the corner there? This Marrow spell is going to totally miss him because he was off by just that one space, and I think he's too far away. And trying to close off these stupid monster dens and get these slimes out of my face. Patty's a weird fighter. I think there was a couple of other things I read online where everyone calls Patty the worst fighter in the game. I don't necessarily think she's the worst one, but she certainly has the lowest hit points out of all the ones that you get. I don't know, maybe she was a maid or something. She just became a fighter, and she happened to be the only one left that could fight. Who knows? No, I realize I am playing this on an emulator, so I never got the instruction booklet or anything like that. So if I had the real cartridge in Japanese, I probably wouldn't understand anyway because I can't read kanji. So yeah, see right here now, I'm just trying to get everybody into position. Now there's going to be a unique position I'm going to put everybody in, because Karen has a very nice spell. You've probably seen me use it a couple times. It's called Hospice. It's an all-heal spell. It'll hit every ally on the screen as long as they are on the screen, as long as they're in Roland's line of sight. Now, I say Roland's line of sight because the way this game works is that it centers the party around the hero's ability to see. And even though Karen could be like at the edge of the screen and not able to see somebody, as long as she's in the same screen as Roland, which is impossible to not have because you can never separate the party out like that. So as long as it's in Roland's line of sight, she'll always be able to cast a heal spell on them. Obviously, if they're not in line of sight, then they're out of the range of the spell. A lot of the beneficial spells don't have a range that, as far as I could tell. I think you could just cast them across the entire width of the screen. The offensive spells, most of them have a range. Like Burnus only has a space of about like 3 or 4 spaces, which is the same as the Copper Bow's were. And let's see, like Tormor I think has a range of like 4 or 5 as well. The sleep spell, which I hardly ever use. This is why I like the boomerangs most of all. Once I got used to the idea of the range on all the weapons, the boomerangs are the best one because they have a complete circular attack pattern, which means anything within like a 5 space radius they can hit. It's either 5 or 6, I can't remember quite for sure. Yeah, so this is what I'm talking about with the weird setup on the party here. Like normally I would just auto move them, but I want to manually move them so everybody's in the correct space. This is where Roland is. I'm going to move him over slightly. If I can get these people to line up. There's something sometimes about the movement on this game that bugs me. It's like one character will move to a certain place, another one will move to a certain place, then you get a spot that you just can't move them to for nothing. Okay, yeah, so I move Roland here, and I've got all 18 people in the same screen, so Karen's Hospice spell will hit them all. 1, 2, 3. Whee! And there we go, everybody's pretty much healed up. And yeah, now I'm going to just use the done here, wait for, and here comes the freaking rest of the slimes I can't get at. Now I'm probably going to have about 6 to 8, maybe 10 of them, depending on how quickly I kill them. Plus I got these 2 freaking skeletons sneaking up from the back. The slimes on the other one aren't going to move. They're not going to move until somebody gets closer to their den. Okay, let's get Roland and his group up here and get ready to start smashing slimes. Now Roland's level is important, which is why I'm going to probably have him attacking more. This is why I'm having him as the primary party here, so that way he can get the extra experience points. But he needs to be like level 10 or 11 when he learns his magic, so his magic, he actually has enough magic points and he does enough damage. Normally in this game you don't have to grind that much. And I say that much because there are places I think you end up having to grind just because you can't get home and you fight and you end up retreating and powering up and all that stuff. But for the most part I try not to grind if I can help it, because I don't like to be overpowered. Like I said, there are places in the game it just makes you feel like you need to because it makes you feel so horribly underpowered. I'm glad that one isn't spawning skeletons anymore. That would just be a pain in the butt if they were coming out there. Alright, so yeah, I'm going to move the main character's party this way. Come on. And they're going to fight these other little slimes over here and get some experience. And then I'm going to keep Orloff in the back. Let him handle the last two skeletons since he's already got plenty of experience points. See, this is what I mean about the extended reach there. So yeah, I actually hit them when he's still in the water with that spear. I'm not quite sure if that's just because it's showing the range of the spear as being a long weapon, or if maybe it's like a short throw or something. And there's nothing that I've read that actually explains the mechanics behind it, so I'm just going to assume that it's just a really long spear. In my mind, he's doing a 300 style. Just doing it like Leonidas did, just jumping at somebody. Arrgh! Stab. Yeah, how could you forget the guy's name is Herb? You got a bunch of herbs in your freaking inventory. Yeah, so for the most part, in this game, the inventory that you need to buy, like the items you need to buy, you buy heavy on herbs pretty much the whole game. Because your magic, you never really get a lot of magic points in your wizards, and you want to use the attacks more than healing, with the exception of Karen, she's all healing. And you got to be real careful. You normally use Horma spells, which is the basic healing spell, whenever possible. And then use Hospice when you really need it, and then you get the other healing spells later in the game, which make you decide even more how you want to use them. But yeah, I hate it when auto does that to you sometimes. You put them in auto and you think they're gonna follow you, and then the auto attacks first and runs second. So you have situations like that where your people auto and run up a little hole on the side somewhere, and you can't really move, because if you did, see, if I hadn't moved them around that bridge right there, what would have happened is I would have been stuck with the hero up in the corner of the screen, and they would have been stuck at the bottom of the screen, and I couldn't have moved until I brought the hero all the way back with the rest of the party and made enough space so the bridge would show up on screen and they can move around. So if you ever try this, if you ever download the ROM for this and try this game, be very, very careful at it. There's more than one time that I've got myself stuck because of that. Sometimes it's very useful. There's a couple of stages that it actually helps because it lets you control what part of the screen you can see and what monsters can't see you. Die, slime, die. Die, you ridiculous one-eyed flying thing. So yeah, for this particular stage, it's going through the bridges in the center and going around the edge, knocking out all of the monster dens. And eventually you get to Milton, and it's guarded by a couple of falconers, a couple of crabs, and this thing called a scary. The crabs aren't so bad. They're just like the snails from earlier. They're just got a really high defense, so it's kind of hard to crack them. And they got a lot of hit points. The falconers are a pain in the butt because they got a lot of hit points, and they're also archers. And then the scary, she's just different. She's like a magician type monster that shoots a lot of sleep spells at you, can try to suck your magic out of you using a spell called Macoom, which is short for magical vacuum. And yeah, the scaries don't show up that much, but where they show up is really, really annoying, especially in one part of the game where you're trying to avoid the Macoom spell on one particular character. Alright, so okay, yeah, so here I almost thought about using Gisark there, and I just decided against it because the problem with the heroes using their magic is the heroes get less magic than the wizards do, and they usually have a lot of beneficial spells. Like, they have the healing and the attack spells, so you generally want to try not to use too much. Especially later on in the game, they pick up the spell called Buncito, Buncito basically makes 4 copies of the hero, and then they attack with all 4 copies of their weapon. So it's just like a quad attack. And that pretty much eats your magic up. There's also a couple other spells, like they have resurrection spells. I strongly recommend buying Life Herb instead. The resurrection spell Arenas I think I'm getting. I'm not sure if I'm getting it this level or next level, but Arenas cost way too much magic, and like this, Life Herbs are a lot cheaper in all senses of the word. The only difference is, well, there is actually no difference because you don't have to target anybody with the Life Herb because you select it from a menu. And Arenas, the only reason I would see Arenas being useful is if you could target another party, but I don't think it lets you do that. I've never actually tried it. If it lets you target somebody else's party and revive a stupid skeleton and 1 bloody hit point left, I hate that. Yeah, but if Arenas lets you target another party and let you revive one of their members, and I can see it being more useful than the Life Herb, but for all intents and purposes, the Life Herb is better. The Cure Herb and the Doctum spell are supposed to cure sleep, poison, and paralysis. The thing is, though, I've never run into a poison or a paralysis spell in this game, and only sleep. And sleep is only caused by the Toromar spell, and you don't really run into Toromar much beyond the stage. Like Milton, you run into it. After Milton, I mean, you run into it, and I think there's like one other area, and after that, you really don't see that much of it. You normally run into the damage spells a lot more. So the Cure Herb and the Doctum spells eventually become worthless. So yeah, you pick up a couple of Cure Herbs just to keep them around, but mainly it's going to be Life Herb and the regular herb that cures your hit points. The Book of Strim that you probably saw at the beginning of the game, like the wizard right at the beginning after you recruit Isaac gives you one. I never buy them because the hero learns the actual Strim spell too fast and it's magic free. Basically, it's his all-purpose escape and transportation spell. That's the one thing in this game I think is overpowered is the Strim spell, because you can retreat with it no matter what. It's 100%. Has a 100% hit rate for retreating, and it goes everywhere and doesn't cost anything, so you can use as much as you want. Of course, I forget to use it sometimes because casting Strim's the last thing on my mind. When I'm retreating, I'm just trying to. Usually, what I try to do is I just try to run the hero back to the nearest town, but that's why I put the comments in the last video. I put those little dialogue boxes in the video that says, yeah, hey, idiot, you've got the Strim spell. Which, by the way, I hope you guys like those little comments and dialogues. I just put them in there because I'm not talking, and I thought it'd be kind of fun to see some extra stuff while you're just sitting there watching the video. If it gets a little irritating, let me know in the comments in the videos, and I'll cut back on them. I probably won't totally eliminate them because there's a couple of jokes I like to throw. Like I said, I showed my friend in Ohio, when I was there, I showed him one of the jokes I put in about the tiara, and he just looked at me with this look and just shook his head and just couldn't believe I did that, because he picked up on the reference I got it from. There are references to a lot of different things in my comments I put in there. If you can catch them all, kudos for you. If not, that's fine. Some of the jokes are a little different. This is the only thing I hate about missing a move like I just did. The cancel command makes you go all the way back. So if you're off by 1 and you hit cancel, you have to do it all over again. It's not that much of a pain in the butt because they move pretty fast, but I just hate doing that. And I just hate that it happens. And sometimes when you hit cancel too many times, you cancel out the whole party. La 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 la, come on. Yeah, there's a peculiar thing about auto move. Whenever possible, the game will auto move your party and try to set them up in a cross formation with the hero in the center, and then with one each around, and the one person is the tail of it. And I've never quite figured out why. I'm assuming there's just some hidden programmer gaff about that. This was made in Japan, so I can't say that, you know, it was like one of the programmers saying that he was a hardcore Christian. Then again, you never know. Or maybe it's just some other strange thing. Maybe they want it to look like a sword or a dagger or something too, because if you turn it the other way, it kind of looks like a sword or a dagger. Okay, so now we're getting up to the final point. You see the crab and everything right up there? That's what I was talking about. Now here I don't want the party to get too close because I don't want the falconer starting to hit me. So I'm going to put them just outside of the falconer's range. And I know what the falconer's range is because the falconer's range is the same as my archer's range with these boomerangs. So as long as I keep them out of range, they'll be fine. And I'm going to walk up in here and I'm just going to trash them. No, I didn't want that. Oh, yes I did. What am I doing? Okay. Isaac? Nope. Wrong way. Isaac? Let's try this again. Thank you. I don't know why. Sometimes the cross pad just moves a little funny. Rolling. It moves a little funny. Sometimes you're trying to move and you just don't hit it the right way. And then you hit the A button to do the input and you realize that you're off. Now here I've got the same thing, but I'm going to go ahead and... Well, okay, let me try this again. I'm going to go ahead and move my party into position to start attacking the falconer because I want to get this falconer out of here. Because this scary is going to come up from behind them and try to put somebody to sleep or probably cast Makum on them, which I don't care about the Makum spell. Makum does two things. One, it removes the magic from the person that it hit, and it adds some of it back to the person who cast it. Anybody who plays Final Fantasy, you're probably screaming Osmos. Remember, this game came out before that. Here we go, Tormar. Sweet dreams, buddy. Oh yeah, and then add insult to injury. Yeah, what that was the falconer's falcon attack. It's basically a boomerang, but looks like a bird. Here we go. Geese arc for you. Lovely damage, isn't it? And that one falconer's gonna die now because I'm just like that. I said you're going to die. Alright, you know what? Let's try this again. One more time. Yeah, I'll take this one first. I didn't realize they both were so weak. Furnace! I will cook you! Nope, apparently I won't. Yeah, I forgot. Furnace is a crappy spell on this stage of the game now. And I think some stuff here is resistant to fire now. So, yeah, that was a waste. Oh well. And scary. Get rid of this bloody thing, because I just don't want to deal with those sleep spells and the Makum spells flying around. And Orloff, bring up the rear. He'll get there just in time to watch the crabs die, probably. Because they're not going to move fast enough to get in the range. See that cross pattern I was talking about right there? Oh, I missed. Okay, you. I like how the crabs don't move. That's actually very, very useful because I don't want to deal with them. Here, Geese Arc for you. Let me get rid of you. Goodbye. Oh, it hit the scary. That's nice. Yeah, crag crab. Does anybody else think this thing kind of looks like a kingler? Or maybe more like a crabby. There's some like cross between a crabby and a kingler. I laugh because this thing looked like a Pokemon to me when I first saw it. Oh, what the hell? Let me just throw an arrow here. Probably not going to cause a whole lot of damage, but just to help. 10's not bad. Level up! I like that they have group experience. Like, it doesn't matter who does the damage in here. Everybody shares the experience equally, so... If the hero... Oh, Arenas. Oh, nice. Isaac finally learns Horma. He can actually heal people now. After, like, what, 10 levels? But yeah, no, the leveling in this game is nice because once your party earns experience points, everybody levels equally, so it doesn't matter if they're alive or dead. Makes it really, really useful. What the hell am I doing here? Oh yeah. Let me get this other archer out of the sleepy... You know, I hate it when I do that. Let me just use Doctor instead. I don't want to waste that. And Karen's not doing much anything else. Okay. Now I'm gonna stab this thing. Stab, stab, stabbity. Nope. Chuck a boomerang at him. Welcome to Australia, mate! I know, that was probably a horrible voice I just did. See what I say about Warlock? He's gonna get there right in time to see the crabs done. But hey. He did a pretty good job earlier, so I don't mind so much. And these crabs aren't too strong, so... Alright, one more time. Gisork! One hit, and... Well, the reason why that crab didn't get hit twice because he died on the first hit, and the animation had to finish. Victory! 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 Yeah, Besaid Aurochs were not, but I thought I'd do it anyway. Okay, so this is the town of Milton. Now, Milton's... towns are weird. They usually stagger, like, weapons, armor, and every once in a while you get a town with both. So this one's one of the armor towns. And we're going to pick up some armor to help the archers out. And to fortify the fighters a little bit more because they need a little bit of an upgrade. This copper, I can't remember for sure, but I think this copper is the last armor that the archers will ever get to wear. And there might be one more, I'm not playing it, but I'll find out in the next episode. I can't quite remember. And I'm just going to buy some bucklers for the fighters just to give them a defense boost because they kind of need it now. And really not going to buy anything for the heroes yet. I'll probably wait till I get into the next town after Milton and then upgrade them there. And if I had... Yeah, I can't remember. Well, I'll find out in a second once I get done putting all these coppers on. Yeah, I was just checking to see what the defense boost on the copper was there, by the way. So yeah, I think I might get the robes while I'm here too, because the wizards need the robes. They're much like the archers in that they only get to wear body armor. But their robes eventually become stronger than the body armor that the archers wear. Which is kind of strange to me. So yeah, this is getting close to the end of the video here, so I want to thank you all for listening to me rambling and ranting here. Hopefully I did a good job. If I didn't, either way, let me know in the comments down below. I will read all the comments and I'll prove them all as long as they're not spam or something like that. If I'm going to finish up with the copper here. Now, I don't remember, I think Milton does not have an item shop, so I'm probably going to have to stream back to Gratska just to restock my herbs and stuff before I take on the next battle. And yeah, the next episode you're going to like. There's something in the game that, like, made me gain so much respect to me because it's not something that you would see done in a video game normally, especially an Enix title or a Square title. But I just thought it was awesome, and I'll definitely show it to you in my next video. So yeah, this pretty much is just going to be me buying stuff and I'm going to save the game. There's really nothing else to do. There's one little item I'm going to show you here. It's called the Enix Knights. Really can't do anything with it, but the item that you need to trigger it down here is actually really cool, and if you play this game I highly recommend finding it because it's a discount in the inns later and it comes in useful. Yeah, it's only like 15 gold or 20 gold, but you know what, it's 15 or 20 gold that you can put into herbs. Alright, so anyway, yeah, I'm just gonna let you all watch the rest of the video. Hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you back on the next episode. And you have a good day, y'all. And I am going to go back to my little corner of the internet now and work on more videos. Bye-bye.